One winter evening, Duncan came back to the shed very tired. He had just finished delivering his extra load of coal for the stations on the line, and he felt tired and cross. "Stuff and nonsense," he complained. "All this extra work for nothing. I get no rest. And not enough time to rest my wheels." "Gee, Duncan," said Rheneas. "It's times like this where you can often get yourself into trouble."
"Oh, please," said Duncan. "I always know what I'm getting myself into."
Rheneas, Peter, Sam, and Scarloy weren't so sure about what Duncan had said. And neither were Sir Handel and Rusty. The next day, all the engines went to work. All of them were out of the sheds except for Rheneas and Duncan. Duncan and Rheneas waited in the sheds for the fin controller to arrive. And a few minutes later, it came with some news.
"Elizabeth the lorry has broken down with a supply of coal for the railway," he said. "It's important that we get to her as soon as we can. Rheneas and Duncan, I want you to get the coal cars and pick up the coal from Elizabeth."
"Yes, sir," said Rheneas, and he left. Duncan didn't leave. He was too cross, and he decided to go on strike. "Come along, Duncan," said the fin controller. "It's time that you got your train ready." But Duncan wouldn't move.
"You always have to let me do all the extra work,"
he complained.
"Why can't you let Rheneas or Rusty do it for once? I'm overworked, and I don't have time to rest my wheels. And I cannot work in this cold, cold weather. It's disgraceful."
"Really useful engines work hard whatever the weather," said the fin controller. "Now go straight back to work with Rheneas," he said. "I have another job for you right after."
"Puh,"
moaned Duncan.
"I get no rest. I get no rest."
Soon Duncan had collected his cars and was on his way. Duncan didn't know that up ahead on this track the points were jammed, and the tracks diverted Duncan into a siding. Duncan didn't realize this until it was too late.
"Bromulation,"
moaned Duncan.
"all this extra work and I end up here?"
"Rubbish," said his driver. "This time you've gone too far, Duncan."
"What do you mean?"
asked Duncan.
"I didn't mean to go in here on purpose."
"Oh yes, you expect me to believe one of your excuses." But Duncan was telling the truth. Soon Duke arrived to pick up Duncan's driver and fireman. "You'll just have to stay here for the night," said his fireman.
"But really,"
said Duncan, "I'm telling the truth." And before he could say anything else, Duke steamed away. Duncan was upset. He was telling the truth, and he would be stuck in the siding until tomorrow morning. Rusty soon arrived with signs saying that the line was closed. Once that was done, he set off to continue his usual job. That evening, Duncan was alone. He was very cold and wished that he was back in his nice warm shed. Just then, it started to snow. Nobody knew that there was a snowstorm in the island of Silver, and Duncan was left in the siding to freeze.
"Oh dear,"
moaned Duncan.
"everyone will know how silly I am."
The next morning, when Rusty came by with the workmen, he was very surprised. There, right next to the broken points, was Duncan, stuck in the snow. "Oh my," said Rusty. "I hope Duncan's all right." Luckily, Duncan was okay, but his fire had gone out, and his coal had become wet from the snow. As soon as the points were mended, Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel arrived to get Duncan out of the snow. At last, Duncan was out of the snow. Duncan was then lowered onto a flatbed, being pulled by Butch, so he could be taken to the steamworks. "We're sorry, Duncan," said the engines. "We didn't know you were telling the truth."
Never mind,
said Duncan.
I've learned my lesson. This is the kind of thing you get into after arguing and complaining.
"We understand," said Rusty. "We've all learned our lesson here." And soon, Butch took Duncan to the steamworks. A few days later, Duncan came back from the steamworks. He felt as good as new and promised that he wouldn't complain about being overworked ever again.